everybody. If you're watching this video, it's because you are looking for a little bit of help as you work on some questions for the Egg Lab, okay? This means that you're on Remind or you're using Google Classroom. And again, Remind in Google Classroom gives you an advantage over other students, okay? So for homework, students are having to complete the analysis questions for their Egg Lab, okay? Looking at the chart at the very top of the lab, this is showing the amount of water that is in different substances that we have used in our lab this week, okay? So we used vinegar, we used water, and we used syrup. So vinegar, you can see it has a 90% concentration of water, and that means that there's a lot of water in vinegar, okay? Water, of course, is 100%, it's all water. And then syrup is only 10%. And so that means that there's very little amount of water in syrup. That's why it's so thick and it's so sticky whenever you're pouring it on your pancakes in the morning. So let's use that information as well as information that we have discussed in class to answer the remaining 5 questions of your Egg Lab, okay? So looking at question 1, it says, describe what happened to the size of the egg after being placed in the vinegar. And we have to explain what caused the size to change. So after being placed in the vinegar, this is our vinegar section right here, students, when they got their egg back on day 2 of the lab, they noticed that it was big and the egg was almost like a bouncy ball. It was really squishy and it had grown in size, okay? So on your answer, you definitely want to mention that the egg got bigger, okay? It got bigger in some way. And the question is, what caused the size to change? And so right here, water from the vinegar went into the egg. That's exactly why the egg grew in size. Okay, so that's what you're gonna wanna write about on question 1. Question 2 says, was your egg larger after being in the vinegar or after being in the water? And we have to give an explanation of the results. So was it larger after being in the vinegar or the water? So you're gonna have to look at your data tables, okay? Look at the data tables for day 2, whatever numbers you have here, and you also wanna look at the numbers on day 4, okay? You wanna look at the circumference and the mass, okay? Did you have bigger numbers on day 2? Or did you have bigger numbers on day 4, okay? Your egg should have been bigger after day 4 because we put it in water. And so since it's completely water, a lot of water went into the egg, okay? It should have been the biggest on the very last day, okay, on day 4. So whenever you are writing about your answer on question 2 right here, you want to say that your egg was larger after being in the water, okay? And then you want to give some numbers. You can say something like, my egg had a circumference of 19 after being in the water, and after the vinegar, it only had a circumference of 18. And so it was larger after the water because it's a bigger number, okay? Whatever numbers you have, use those numbers in your answer, okay? Because it wants to give an explanation of the results. So it wants to see, I want to see numbers from your table, okay? Which one had a bigger number, okay? That's how you're going to answer question number 2. Question 3 says, explain what happened to the water molecules when the egg was placed in the water cup. Okay, so in the water cup, when the egg was in the water cup, it had a very low concentration. Remember, the eggs were tiny and they were squished and there was like dense and they were all shriveled. And then today, when you saw your egg, it was huge, okay? And it was like a bouncy ball again. So we need to explain what happened to the water molecules. The water went into the egg. That's it, right there. What happened to the water molecules? The water went into the egg. Done. That is a straightforward answer. It's a complete answer, and that would be something that I would count correct. Next, we have question 4. How could you explain the size of the egg after it was removed from the syrup? So how could we explain the size of the egg after the syrup? So after it was in the syrup, okay, this was yesterday, think about how the egg was. Did the egg get bigger or did it get smaller? Okay, think about that. You can use your circumference numbers to help you figure that out, but if you remember how shriveled and deformed it was, I think you'll be able to know if the egg got bigger or smaller. And that's all you have to mention, okay? You could say the egg was smaller after it was removed from the syrup. Done. If you want to add that it was shriveled or it was dented or it was deformed or it looked like it had broken overnight, you can add that in, but definitely mention the word small or smaller, okay, in your answer for question 4. Last question. It says, what processes in the human body might require osmosis or diffusion? The answer to this question comes from the very front of the lab, at the very bottom of the lab, okay, the very bottom. It says, these are the processes used within the human body for cells to get the food, oxygen, and water they need and to be able to get rid of waste. Okay, so you have to decide what is a process in the human body that would use this, okay? This answer does not need to be a complete sentence for question 5. You can just list a body process, okay? Meaning, what does your body do? So, get food. Okay, what's another word for getting food? What do you do when you are getting food? You're eating. Okay, so you can mention eating or digesting food. Either of those can count as one body process. And you have to mention another one because it says what body processes. Okay, so that means more than one. So, oxygen. What do you do with oxygen? Okay, think about that. We breathe it in. So breathing can be a really good answer to also have for question 5. It also talks about getting rid of waste. Getting rid of waste. So people get rid of waste in many different ways. And we're gonna learn about that a little bit later in the year when we're learning about human body. But I mean, there's one obvious way we get rid of waste when we go to the bathroom. So you can say, when I go to the bathroom. That is a body process, okay? That's something that you do to get rid of waste, and it does use osmosis and diffusion. There are other examples that you can use. Of course, if you want to look up other examples that sound cooler or maybe interest you more, that's okay. But I need at least 2 body processes in the answer for question 5. Okay, so I just created about a 10-minute video, And I hope that you were able to complete your questions in the back of your lab. This lab is due at the beginning of class on Monday. Okay, so make sure that everything looks great, and this lab grade will be into the grade book definitely by the end of the week. I have to look at every single lab over the week, so it does take a little bit of time. So expect your lab grade to be in there by Friday of next week. Okay? Have a great weekend. Bye, guys.